Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So today I've got a fairly modern Ibanez Geo on the bench and it's got a few problems. The guy that I bought it from said that it had some buzzing in the upper frets, so I want to test that out. And we're going to do a general cleanup, and I've got some repairs that I've got to make to the body. Alright, first things first, this thing has been dropped on its bottom edge here, and I don't know if you can see it very well on the camera, but the crack that has developed here is actually a piece of the plywood from this laminate body that's lifting up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to intentionally force this crack open with a small nail, and then I've got an industrial syringe and I'm going to inject some wood glue into that crack and then glue that piece of laminate back down. But I've got to inject it until there's glue coming out of both sides of the crack. Hopefully you can see what I'm going for here. I'll pull the nail out that I was holding the crack open. You should be able to see the glue that's coming out both sides of this crack. So I'm just going to clean off some of the excess that's squeezed out already. And then I'm going to clamp it. And then I'll get some extra of the squeeze out that's coming out on the sides. It doesn't really matter on this one that I get it all because this poly finish won't stick to the glue anyway, and I'll just be able to knock off the excess afterward. Alright, so I'll let that set up and then I'll clean up everything afterward. So after filling this with glue, clamping it, letting it dry, I also went ahead and chased these cracks with some super glue and kind of used some touch-up paint here on the edge. Then I kind of wet sanded and buffed it. And this is the final result. So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff you can achieve after even some significant damage like that. Now, unfortunately, even though I did touch up these areas that were right along the cracks themselves, they don't hold paint that well just because of the wood glue. And I could have like resprayed the whole back or whatever, but I'm not really going that crazy on a repair like this. There's other dings on this guitar. I just wanted to make it where it was not going to peel back anymore. It was structurally stable and it was as good looking as I could get it without a whole lot of effort. So I'm happy with the result on that. So let's move on to some other things. So I'm not going to change these strings out because these strings are actually pretty good. I might trim the ends a little bit, but otherwise they look to be installed fairly correctly. There is something I want to do for cleanup purposes, and that is try to get some of the dust and things out of this bridge. But you might be wondering, like, how do you clean up a bridge or the pickups or any of that area without taking the strings off? And my solution to that is just to use a child's paintbrush or a small paintbrush and just work it into the areas that are holding all that pet hair and house dust and stuff like that. And it won't get everything. You may want to come in there with a Q-tip and some chrome polish. This will at least get the majority of the dust out. Some other tricks that I've used in the past are compressed air. So, you know, shoot some compressed air down in there, try to blow it out. But this is going to help me really get that stuck on dust. I'm going to go ahead and do some compressed air next off camera and just finish up that cleanup. So the compressed air has got all the gunk out of every space. The next thing I thought I would test is just whether the electronics work or not, because this guitar is unknown to me. It appears to me that they do. Only thing to me is I think the bridge pickup is a little quieter than the neck pickup. So when we're checking the pickup height, you want to do that with the string depressed on the last fret. And that kind of gives you an idea of how close the strings are to the pickups whenever you're in playing position. It looks like right now this front pickup is set to 6/64 on the low E, and the rear pickup is way off the charts low. And so that's probably why I'm seeing that much difference. Yeah, it looks like 5/64 here and way off the charts there. So let's raise this rear one up, and we'll probably let's just use like 8/64 and 7/64 and see if that gets us anywhere in the ballpark in terms of the volume. All right, there's 8 and 8. Let's go a little higher on this one. All right, close enough. So maybe that's cured my volume problems. We'll see. That sounds a lot better to my ear. That's a little bit loud on that side, so I'm going to go back down with it just a little bit, clear that up. That sounds much better to me. I don't have to take the pick guard off because all the electronics are working and there's no scratchiness of the pots or anything like that. But what is bothering me is that these volume and tone knobs are not oriented correctly. I really think they ought to be oriented so that the 10 is facing the player. So I'm going to take these off and reorient them. It gives me a chance to clean up under here too. Let's see, we'll orient these so that the 10 is facing the user, which essentially makes the word volume and tone read correctly to you whenever they're all the way up. All right, so now they're all the way up. The next thing that we'll do is check neck relief. So when the previous owner told me that there was some buzzing going on with strings, I did try it out when I bought it and I didn't feel any of the buzzing he was talking about, but he was blaming the E string and the B string for the most of the buzz. What I'm gonna do is check neck relief first, and then I'm gonna adjust the action. The action adjustment really isn't correct until you get the neck relief right. Oh, let's see, let me check the neck radius first. It looks like a 16 to me. I'll have to check that spec online, but that's got to be in the ballpark, which means I'm going to shoot for 10 thousandths of neck relief. What you do for that is put a capo on the first fret the guitar at the neck to the body joint, which is the 17th on this one. And then we need to check for 10 thousandths of neck relief at the 8th fret. That's not even close. There's almost no neck relief. So what I've got to do now is loosen the truss rod. And I suspect that could have been part of the problem with the buzzing that he was hearing anyway. So I'm going to loosen this truss rod and see what happens. So the truss rod nut size, or the wrench size, is 5 millimeter. And I've tried to loosen it, but it is all the way loose. Now, like I said, there's almost no neck relief on this guitar, but there is just a little bit. So the other thing that I wanted to test was what size strings are on this thing. And when I test that, it looks like these are 9s to 42s. Since I can't get any more relief with the truss rod nut, what I might do on this guitar, especially because I can see right now the bridge is not floating. So I'm gonna switch to 10s and see if that doesn't correct all my issues. So I'm gonna change those out and we'll try and see what kind of neck relief I get. One thing I did want to point out, this D'Addario, or I'm not sure how to pronounce D'Addario, I never am. The string winder tool is one of the best on the market. I couldn't recommend it any more highly. All right, so the 10s are on it. It did make the bridge float just a little bit, as I suspected it would, and that's perfect. Let's see what it did to the truss rod. Man, that's really, really close. I'm gonna try 8 thousandths and just see if it's in there. Because sometimes on a very flat neck like this, 8 thousandths is the spec. Yeah, I think that passes the test. So hopefully that cures any buzzing that was going on. I didn't really intend to blow a set of strings on this guitar, because honestly I only paid 25 bucks for the whole thing. Okay, so let's continue the setup with the action. Let me go ahead and test what's going on here with the buzzing. Don't have any buzzing right now. Where's the action? It's about 6/64 and I'd like to see 4. Well, perfect. I'm going to leave this at 4. I've got to do these other 4 strings, but since the E and the B were the main issue, I wanted to test those out, and they're working great. All you really need to do to adjust your action is to loosen these Allen screws here on the saddles, and that will lower things down. And I've got this action ruler that I always recommend. It's something I got on Amazon, but it's got this 64th scale on it, which is what I like to use to set up Strat style guitars, especially the Strat scale length like this one. I always set them up at 4/64 at the 17th fret. You can raise or lower it from there. That's just the spec for a Fender. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust these other 4 off camera and we'll see what we've got. All right, so I got 4/64 across the board at the 17th fret. No buzzing, I'm happy. So let's talk a little bit about what just happened here. The reason that I switched from 9s to the 10s is that I suspected that this guitar was set up for 10s anyway. And the reason is the neck relief was not within spec and the truss rod was all the way loose. Right now, the neck relief has more. It's probably 8/1000ths, not quite 10/1000ths, but it's playable. And that's kind of the main thing. I just wanted to see if I could get this guitar playable. It's not worth investing a lot of money in. It's not a really expensive guitar, but you know, it doesn't deserve to go to the trash heap either. Now, what would you do if you really wanted to fix this neck the right way? Well, you'd probably end up trying to heat treat it or something, trying to put a little bit more relief in it. Maybe there's some other kind of adjustment you could do. I've not done a whole lot of those kinds of repairs before. This is playable. I'll just tell people you got to use 10s or higher on it in order to get the proper amount of neck relief. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a little bit of a flat neck, if not a back bow, depending on what you string it with. Let's see, what's next? I think what I might do is just check the intonation. Yeah, that one could stand to move just a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and get my screwdriver. Tighten this just a hair. Okay, well that's got it spot on. So I don't know, maybe all these need about a quarter turn or so. I'm gonna do these off camera, but if you haven't seen my videos on intonation, go check those out. I think I have a quick tip on it. All right, well, we've done neck relief, we've done pickup height, we've done action, we've kind of adjusted things electronically, got the knobs right, we've done their body repair. The last thing that I think I'll do is just a little bit of a cosmetic thing. I always keep a black enamel touch-up pen around. I like to sometimes use it to touch up little things like this. It's almost like a Sharpie, so that you can direct the paint to exactly where you want it to go. Touching up a little spot like that will make the guitar just appear a little bit better from a distance. I'll go around and do a couple more touch-ups on things. I'm pretty much going to call this guitar done. If you want to check out my links in my description, I've got Amazon links to all the parts that I've used in this little video today. Also, I really appreciate when you guys hit like and comment on my videos, and I especially appreciate it when you guys subscribe. I thank you all, and I'll see you next time.